Good day, everybody. This is Michael Levitis from JurisQ.com, where we bring you different attorneys, different states, different practice areas. But today, we're going to concentrate on our participating attorney that talks about divorces and use of mediators in a divorce, Alla Kurolapnik. Alla, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you for your time you take to educate the public on the pitfalls and the issues in a divorce proceeding. And today, as promised, we're going to talk about cheating. We know that cheating sometimes is a big part in divorce. This is maybe why divorce even occurred. But let's talk about how cheating affects child custody, and does it affect child custody? Alla, what do you think?
So I definitely think, you phrase it the right way. Does it? And if it does, how so?
Right.
So my initial thought process is, if, let's say, adultery can be defined in so many different ways, right? It could be a one-night stand, it could be an ongoing relationship, it could be, anything else. So if you've had a one-night stand, which is adultery, and your child doesn't know anything about it, whether or not your wife finds out about it or your husband finds out about it is completely irrelevant, as long as your child is left out of the equation and out of the mess. Okay. Now, with that being said, I have seen, unfortunately, people utilize very bad judgment who tell their children about the infidelity of the other parent, and who tell the children that it is the reason that they are breaking up because your mom or dad was not faithful to, which causes great anxiety for that child on so many different levels. It creates mistrust, it creates hatred, it creates all kinds of issues for your child. So I've seen that happen. So, the next question is, can it, going back to your original question, can it affect it when someone does something like that? Absolutely. Right. If you've been involved in a out of marriage relationship with somebody else for a significant amount of time, and your child knows about it, or you've made the you've introduced the person to it, or you've had that person over the house, or in any way involved your child in your behavior, then it absolutely can impact custody. And I say that because the court looks at, in the first instance, the court says, or the law in New York really is the best interest of the child, right? And how do you define it? What's the best interest of a child? You look at the stability of a family or a parent, emotional, financial, the decisions that they make. So for instance, if I were a judge in a case and a couple came in front of me and they were both fighting for custody, and I hear that one parent told their 9 or 10-year-old that their mom or dad was having an affair and that's why they're breaking up, and they're going to have a whole new family and they're abandoning our family, that's going to have a big bearing on custody, in my opinion.
I see.
Okay. That's really gonna, it affects your child. It affects how your child's going to be, or even in cases where the parties have been separated for a while and they have a significant other. Now, mind you, we're in the middle of a divorce at that point already. And while adultery may not have been the initial situation, now is the next part. You're with somebody else and you want to introduce that person to your child, right? What's the right way of doing it, especially while you're in the middle of a divorce, right? You better cross your T's and dot your I's if you're going to do something like that. You better not just say, oh, we're going to go out to dinner with my kid, and then during dinner say, by the way, this is mom's new boyfriend or dad's new girlfriend, because that creates such a disorganized feeling for your child and so much anxiety. And then that's an issue that if I were the attorney on the case, I'd certainly bring that up to the judge.
Wow. So maybe talk to an attorney first, Alla, before you introduce your child to
100%.
Call your attorney
100%.
first. It could be worth it.
100%. That's the very first thing, and I look, a lot of people don't want to, whether it's in mediation or litigation. Mediation tends to be a little different because both parties are involved, right? But certainly in the cases that I'm retained as a litigation attorney on, in those cases, the litigants often don't want to tell me if they're involved with somebody else, which in my opinion is the biggest mistake they can make.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know in advance that there's another person in your life, I can screen and make sure that we address it in the right kind of way. But if I don't know, then I can't help you shield yourself from anything that may happen, that you may do that the courts would look upon not favorably in the future.
Alla, if I may, you are a JD, Juris Doctor,
Yes.
but from the client standpoint, you may as well be MD, a medical doctor. Meaning, when you go to a consultation to an attorney, my opinion, tell the attorney everything, the good, but don't hide the bad, because like you said, sometimes this information you may think it's not important, or you may be shy or embarrassed to share something with your attorney. No, you have to tell your attorney everything. So like you said, Alla, you can address it ahead of time and not let it come out in court proceeding in front of the whole court and really put you in a bind.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's why, so, going back to your initial question, Michael,
Yeah.
does adultery affect custody? It absolutely may. It all depends on the circumstances and, what the parties really do about it.
Interesting. It's a very interesting perspective you gave us, because it looks like prior adultery can affect somehow custody, but also presently, if you're with somebody, it's no longer an adultery, but if you're in a relationship with somebody else, that could also affect your custody. So a lot of pitfalls there, a lot of considerations, and a lot of food for thought between you and your attorney. And we recommend one such attorney is Alla Kurolapnik. If you're going through a divorce, you're thinking about divorce, it's always better to plan ahead and think about whether you want to use mediators in your divorce. That's what Alla is a big proponent of. And we have a lot of sessions talking about the benefits of using mediators. So you better pick up the phone and find out from Alla whether mediation is right for you. Alla, thank you so much for your time. We're going to bring you back next time with more and more questions. And we're always looking forward to hearing from you, from your information. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Take care.
Thank you, Michael.